come with me now, if you will, on a journey through a web of lies and deceit to locations unknown. Well, I know the location, so I'm lying already. It's the day before Christmas in Izmir, Turkey, the third largest city in the country. It's nestled between the turquoise of the Aegean on one side, the olive green mountains that rise up past the coast on the other, and the hills are dotted with white stucco houses and the gleaming gray of mosque buildings. I am making my way to the bazaar, and it's exactly like how you think it is in the movies. It's a maze of these squat tan buildings with white and green and blue cloths that have been strung overhead for shade, and there is stalls all over the alleys that are selling everything imaginable. They're selling spices and chess sets and teacups and wedding dresses and baby clothing and backpacks and hookahs. So I walk past a mosque and the call to prayer blares out of the speakers on the minarets, and it's melodic and it is otherworldly, and I kind of have this moment when I am both when I'm just completely out of my element, and it's both terrifying and exhilarating. And so while I'm enjoying that feeling, a man kind of brushes past me and says something in Turkish, and I say, "Hayya, no." And then he stops and he turns and he says, "Oh, I didn't realize you weren't Turkish because of your beard." And I don't know how many blonde, pasty, pug-nosed Turks there are in the South Aegean, but I'm pretty sure that number is very low. And he asked me, "Where are you from?" And I don't know who this guy is or where he's coming from, what his thoughts are on U.S. policy, so I lie. I say, "Canada." And then he asks me as the call to prayer stops, "Let me ask you, are you a believer?" And I'm not a religious man, but I am a coward. And so I say, "Of course I am," and I am ready to proclaim Allahu Akbar. I'm ready to talk about how I get all cranky when I'm fasting during Ashura. And he asks me, "Oh, good. Catholic or Protestant?" Did not see that coming. And so I reluctantly say, "Protestant?" Hallelujah! I am too. I've asked many Germans and Americans and Canadians if they're believers. They always say no. It is clearly God's plan that we meet. Come with me, we'll go to a tea shop and we'll talk more. And there's a scam where someone takes you to a tea shop and it ends up that the tea costs like $100. So I'm on my guard, but mostly I'm just regretting that I didn't tell the truth and say I wasn't a believer. And so I said, "Oh, well, thank you, that's very generous, that's very kind, but I'm in a hurry, it's Christmas, I need to get presents, praise Jesus." And he's insistent though, but I hold my ground, and finally says, "Okay, fine," and he walks off. So I'm relieved, and I'm going through the bazaar, doing my shopping, crossing items off my list, and I finally have one thing left to get, a Turkish rug from a good friend, Ruth. So I'm walking through, and I see this carpet that's hanging outside of an entryway to an interior part of the bazaar. So I walk through, and there on the right is the rug store, with two Turkish men behind the counter, one of whom is the Christian, who says the only thing he could possibly say in this situation, "It's a miracle!" And it turns out that the store is his cousin's, and so we go up to the second floor, which is where the storeroom is, and the cousin makes a big deal of having me turn around so that I don't see the combination that holds his valuable and well-made merchandise. And the cousin says, "Oh, I hear you're from Canada. Where in Canada are you from? I ran a marathon there once." And I'm sweating bullets. And I know I'm going to be called out. And I say, "Outside Toronto?" And he says, I ran in Montreal. It's a great city." And I say, "Oh, yeah. Lovely place. Eh?" And so we're sitting there sipping tea. The Christian shows me some hymns that his daughter has transcribed in English. The cousin is showing me that finely woven carpets are softer to touch, and that when you hold a flame to a true cotton rug, it won't catch on fire. And we finally get to the point where we're negotiating, and I have my eye on one of the cheap rugs that has big old knots. And he's telling me that it is a great bargain at $200. And at that point, the amount of dishonesty in that room is suffocating, because he is lying to me about the price of the rug, and I am lying to him about everything else. But we finally settle on a price, and I pay him, and he waves the lira around my head and says a blessing, and I make my way out of the shop, relieved to be out of that kind of intense bartering situation. And the Christian is with me as I leave the bazaar, and he says the rest of his family has cut him off because he converted. And he hits me up and asks me, can you give me some money? My wife and I are trying to start the ministry. And so I hand him a couple lira, and I lie, I gave the rest of my money to your cousin, and I trudged off into the night. And sometimes, honesty is not the best policy.